They said you'd be coming here for 5 years. Yes. Then, 4 initiations, through the fifth knee something else. And she begins. I see that you don't have long left. The darkness is around you. That is, at first I thought it wasn't for me. That's where the girls are a little bit. Yes, there is such a love spell without sin.
Is there a love spell without sin? Do people often come to you with any destructive orders at all?
Very often.
Do you take it? After all, I work.
That is, there is no such thing as a magic wand. And anyway, in general, I love tag.
Hello. Shadow Control is on the air. Today, as part of the heading behind the scenes of Magical Secrets, we have Marina Vain, a practitioner of various traditions, a sensorist, a runologist, a tarologist, as a guest. Marina, hello.
Hello.
Tell us, please, how did your path in magic begin?
Come on, it's brief, right? I've been doing it officially for 20 years. It turns out, well, since the 2000th year, 22. But this is exactly official. But by and large, this is probably my whole life as such. A lot of people say it's a gift. That is, there must be some kind of gift. A lot of people talk about being a gift from childhood and similar things. That is, Yaroslav is in a completely ordinary family. That is, completely social people. The kettle was a kettle. And somewhere, probably, when I was 17 years old, I began to be interested. I started to get interested. But again, yes, there was no internet. There were no schools. There was nothing. There was a library. There were books. I found some women. Tried to get something from them. Women, men whom I didn't see like that. Tried to get some information. It was minimal. And so consider, somewhere officially from the 2000th year, I started to go to look for something. Unfortunately, when I got to these women, men and sources of knowledge, it was not always high quality and good. And when you arrived somewhere, stood in line for 2 days, and then you go in and realize that it won't do any good, but it becomes terribly insulting. It's a pity for the time and effort spent.
How did you understand that this is wasted time?
Well, I do not know how to put it mildly here. Sometimes, that is, I have seen a lot, and people, let's say, are not quite adequate. Yes, that is, you see a person who is not quite adequate. Perhaps this person is talking nonsense. Well, as such, right. That is, let's say I am 20 years old, more than 20 years I am. My husband has been very supportive all this time. From the very beginning he is with me, and when you come in and they tell you that you are not married, you will never be married, you are all sick, everything is bad for you, and you urgently need to do something. Restore your life. Here you understand that you came in vain. When you've been married there for 6 or 7 years, when you're basically fine, and when you're, I don't know, completely healthy. And there were probably a lot of such moments. I probably traveled, well, not to lie, for 5 or 7 years. Well, no. From time to time there were still precedents later, when oh I want, that's it, I have to go. And I realized that yes, no myself. Well, just take it, develop yourself. Here there is some kind of base. Slowly everything became available. Yes, that is, some books appeared there, the internet appeared. Yes. It was originally there somehow by cards. Something else, something could be found, read. There were some people to talk to. Well, people shared their experience. And so you take this and just start doing it. That is, and by and large, from the moment, let's say, officially 2000th year, and up to the moment now, I am basically developing. That is, I will never stop. I am constantly engaged, developing myself. And the day begins with the fact that there are 4 hours of practice inside. In other words, meditation, yoga, hita, and some other similar things are aimed at their own development, not at working with clients. And no, I must say right away, it's not cleaning. It's just exactly to support yourself.
And don't you remember this first moment, this impulse push? How did it start?
Look, this is probably it. Well, here probably everything is banal. I've always felt people. That is, I felt the mood. I felt the state of the person. I was still a little girl. My mother would come home, and I would look at her. She was standing with her back, and I knew something was wrong there. That is, there is a bad mood, something else, here, and in principle. And then when there was interest, the first thing I started was to try. In other words, you felt a person, and then you try to dive into him, go deeper, feel some emotions stronger, feel his thoughts. That's it. It's simple. And so, slowly from this, well, and then, well, logically, let's say, tarot is on the ear. Yes, still. And then it was right. Like tarot cards. You come to any grandmother, the first thing she does is take out some cards. It's an interest. The principle is the same. That is, an attempt to find some kind of teacher. A teacher, unfortunately. Or I was told that you will be coming here for 5 years. Yes, then it means 4 initiations. Through the 5th knee and something else. And only after that you will be able to work. Yes, that is, well, I haven't had 5 years. I just started doing it on the sly. It was the same with the runes. In fact, I probably smelled all the traditions. That is, for 20 years of such endless constant learning of the river, tarot, run it. This is healing. My God, I probably don't remember half of it anymore. Metaphorical maps, some psychological aspects, but unfortunately, there is no way without this either, because you still work with people all the time, and slowly every tradition. That is, I caught something somewhere, took the maximum. I came to the conclusion that if I was given at least 20% of the information there at some seminar in some school, well, the rest is water. It's a success. Yes, that is, and slowly just twisted, developed, tried everything on myself, on my loved ones.
So in the end, you didn't have a teacher, mentor, and it was an independent path.
I have passed a huge number of people in different traditions, different directions. But to find exactly a mentor, exactly a person, probably, after all, a mentor is not just some kind of training, right? When I am told mentoring, let's say my students are now, I lead them. In other words, we sort out the problems in their lives, we change their views, we change the picture of the world. It's not just do it like this, and you will have a miracle. You will be happy. Yes, this is when a person leads you and a person is in tune. It's a view of the world, probably like this. No, unfortunately, I didn't find it. That is the last one. Well, the last one. I do not know how many there are. Well, I say, I tried for 7 years. There were some precedents. Then I spat. But, unfortunately, she spat.
Marina, reveal to us this concept of sensorics. What is it?
You can actually call it whatever you want. Sensorics, intuition, clairvoyance. Well, probably, there are a lot of these terms. I will say, of course, that this is when a person sees a little more. He sees the subtle world, sees energies, but this is not a feature of some kind. By and large, that's when we came here. That's when our soul came once again. It was, let's say, born. We are all given the same. The question is, what kind of family do we live in? What kind of society surrounds us, right? What is the main problem? That is, let's say some student comes, says, here's a miracle. I want to feel this first miracle there. See something. Well, no, I can't. Why can't you? But because my mother told me, because everyone told me, because they told me at school, because they told me at work, and so on. In other words, the question is, either they score it for children and say, no, there is none of this. Or, let's say the baby is born in some family where it is loyal to this. That is, I was treated calmly. No one has ever said that there is. No one has ever said that there is not. Yes, and in principle it was natural for me. In other words, this is some kind of a more subtle sense of the world. Another feeling. There's hearing, there's vision, right. That is, and there is this. You know such an example, probably somewhere. Well, you once noticed, how the haze over the road happens, right? That's when cars are driving, and sometimes it's visible around a person. So a lot of people have seen it, right? This is this subtle vision. This is our etheric body as such. Everyone can see it. The question is how much a person can concentrate, how much a person understands how to do it, is not afraid, and at least a little bit believe in himself. Because when a person says, no, I won't succeed, it's all magic, it's all a miracle, that's where it all ends, unfortunately. In other words, when you start interacting with a student in some way, the first thing to do is knock this out. So call it whatever you want. The key point is just, well, I call it, probably, a full-fledged vision of the world. That is, when a person does not see it, does not feel it. It's like a piece of something thrown out. Yes, that's how he does not hear, does not see with his eyes. Yes, I mean, I don't know how to explain it.
And how did you develop it in yourself?
Well, first of all, a huge number of simply banal primitive exercises. You know how we draw hooks at school, Right. It's the same here. Secondly, probably the main thing is to be able to concentrate. To be able to stop this notorious internal dialogue, such an inner kind of silence, listening to yourself and feeling. That is, on the one hand, it gives a lot of advantages, but on the other hand, it also gives disadvantages. Because you feel everything. Feel the good, feel the bad. Let's say I had a problem that when I was developing, actively developing, the first stage, I could not ride the subway. That is, I went into the subway. There are a lot of people, diseases, emotions, something else, anger, aggression. And you come in and you feel it all.
How do you feel about it? Exactly. Could you, perhaps, give an example or describe in practice how this happens?
Yes, it's really banal. Let's say a client comes in. He has a headache. If I sit down and resonate, my head will start to hurt too. In other words, when a client, a student, a person close to me comes in, I can very clearly say that this hurts there. There is a condition like this. Our body resonates first of all. I mean, our body never deceives us, right? In other words, you feel what a person feels. Over time, you learn not to get involved in this and, well, again, a primitive example. If a person's head hurts a lot, you just feel that, yeah, something is wrong with the head there. I don't know. Yes, that is, but there will not be these severe pains. And initially, when I started working there, yes, there is no one to suggest this misunderstanding. But how can we abstract from this just a little bit? Because two people came there, and that's it. And you're lying there, your leg handle is unfastened. You don't understand what to do, how to get ready. But over time, you just learn. You learn not to be included in people. You learn not to resonate with people so much. Probably the key is not to turn on. Someone says I'm cruel because, well, people don't come with a good one. Yes. In other words, we live in such a negative background, probably, with problems, with troubles, with some kind of pain, with tantrums. Then he came, and you have 10 people like that. And if you give everyone a handkerchief when he cries, that's it. You won't have it in 2 or 3 people. You'll sit down and cry next to me. And so all I can do is try to say, now the administrator will come, give you some water, calm down for 10 minutes, and we will continue to work. As soon as I turned on, as soon as I came out of some basic level state, there will be no work. That is, by and large, there is probably another important point. When a person comes, you should always look through his eyes. I'll give an example simply. Let's say they come, and there are a lot of them. Well, this is a classic. Jean comes, a girl, there's a woman, a girl, and says that I don't know. My husband beats me. Beats, drinks, something else. Yes, that's what I should do. Like do something. And if, let's say, to look at it from my side in general, some kind of social thing is bad. That's it. Get away from it. Ah, but it's good for her. He beats her at the beginning. Then they actively reconcile there. And so they live for 20 years. Yes. And you look and realize that this is how a person should live this life. He's not going anywhere. And if you start telling him now, pushing him, that it's bad, yes, it won't do any good. That is, we have to turn off completely and look through the eyes of a person. That is, to feel a person, to feel his life, and to feel that it will be better for a person. Not what is good for me, not what is unacceptable for me to beat there, but what is for her. So in everything.
Marina, what do people come with, since we have already touched on this issue?
Probably, everything is as old as the world. 3 main themes. Topics are relationships. This is health. This is finance. That is, money, business, loves does not love, marries does not marry, well, plus some kind of partnership, probably in the aspect of business. But also health. Our health is all the most frequent.
Maybe share what tools you use. Let's say a person comes with one or another request. Well, as you have already given an example today, there a girl comes about a relationship. What tools do you use? What do you work with, maps, runes, and so on?
That is, well, yes, first of all, a person comes, you can take cards, you can take runes, you can just look, depending on the person, on the openness of the person. That is, if a person is basically open, not afraid, this is a common phenomenon, there he is afraid in hysterics, even in some similar ones. That is, the case to take, let's say, cards. Yes, that is, it's fast, high quality. The first thing we do is sort out what is happening there, who is to blame, who is right. Well, usually 2 sides are to blame. Then we understand how we work. These are the things from the series of love spells of will suppression, and some kind of something like that. No, I absolutely do not like it. Well, then again, either we work in the aspect of energy. Everything in our world is energy. You can add something. And if, let's say, such an exaggerated example, a girl comes, here's a man who, I don't know, doesn't like me lately. You look at the girl, you realize that first of all, put yourself in order. And second of all, let's just change the quality of energy for you. Let's give you a little bit of a boost, make you more attractive. I don't know, more high quality as far as it can be said. It's probably primitive to be more beautiful, so that they like you, so that, I don't know, they want you there.
How do you see these energies? Like you? Well, in this particular situation.
In other words, look, we have such a structure of the body structure. Yes. In other words, it is clear that we have a physical body, arms, legs, and so on. And we have energy bodies. Everyone has probably heard about it. Let's say the etheric body is also 5 to 7 centimeters from the physical one. It is responsible for our taste. It is tied to our second center, our camp. Everyone's heard about the chakras too, right? These are these. That is, and accordingly, you look at a person banally and understand that there is a broken schistone. It works poorly. The quality of the schistone is bad. The energy is bad. That is, you can say there, let's say it's dark. Yes, but I'm bigger. I don't have exactly a vision. I've never seen these pictures, have I? I just know more. I feel more. And then you look at the ether. You understand, the ether, there should be 2 centimeters there. She's small, because, well, you're looking at the next center. Let's say Manipura is responsible for everything social. For work, for, I don't know, there, business and some social aspects. And there, I don't know, it works like the last time it was rocked. And in principle, you understand that, well, a banal person, a girl, a woman works 2 jobs, forgot about herself at all. Well, as such, from Vadhiston, and she is ordered to live for a long time. Accordingly, you just work with the center, that's all. That is, it changes, you align somewhere, it changes, a person loses focus on himself. There the girl remembers that she is a girl, beautiful, well, it's probably in some similar format. That is, to understand what I said, yes, it is obvious. That is, if you start to develop it in yourself, it is visible, it is felt. When a person comes in and something is wrong with him, there is no need for a map, no need for runes, no need for anything. You look at a person and you realize that it's not right. Something, you know, it feels like something is wrong. So you catch it. And then you just go deeper there and poke around.
And what is the reason for such as these, as you say? Well, is there something wrong with a person? What could be the reason? Is this some kind of external influence, a magical effect, or is this person doing this to himself?
Unfortunately, 99% of it is the person himself. These are exactly some wrong views, wrong attitudes towards oneself, towards life, towards people, towards everything. The same mistakes of some kind. That is, here is 1%, when some kind of made negative, generic negative, really comes across. In other words, a huge number of people have passed over 20 years, and really people who had something done, damage, generic curse, and so on. This is 1%. I remember them all. I constantly tell my students that when I have this spoiled, cursed man, I will show him to you and show him. Well, because you don't experience anything, and in the main mass, unfortunately, people themselves. And again, unfortunately, a person really wants to throw on something. That is, that it's not me doing something wrong. I'm not repeating the same mistakes. I don't know there, I'm eating wrong, but some kind of terrible, terrible damage, because of which my stomach hurts. And everything is very bad for me. That is, I don't have somatics, but I have damage. Because, but again, a lot of customers. Why, at some point, I went and started to understand psychology. Yes, there is somewhere to study. Well, and here it is already frankly to study, because, well, a lot of people do not come to me, to a psychologist. That is, a person just needs to sort himself out. Remove some, well, stupor from his head. Unnecessary programs, unnecessary. I don't know how to say it. You can't really name any kind of nastiness.
Here you say that you remember all your clients with destructive influence. And how did you define these destructive influences? Is this also sensorics or something else?
In terms of my sensitivity to such a person, I feel very bad. You can't close here nothing. In other words, you look at a person, you understand that there is no strength in a person at all, there is no energy at all. It's like he's gray in himself, skin color. He doesn't enter, he crawls in. Here I do not know how to explain. You can see such people. And plus, the first reaction to such people is that I feel bad, sick to the point of nausea. That is, there is no need for something like that, right? That is, as such in principle. The tarot will show, and the rune will show, and practices work in different ways. There are a lot of ways to reveal this negative there. Yes, but I usually have a person come in for this, and we understood everything.
Or rather, you felt, yes, everything is already clear in principle. And your further actions. You will still lay out the runes and…
That's it, I don't see the point.
And how do you determine what to do with this person? And in general, do you undertake such work?
Yes, I will. We will sit down first of all, to find out. But again, yes, I need to, let's say, tune into the person more. But the first moment, I probably need to come to my senses. I'll tell you to wait there for 15 minutes. I'll come to my senses a little bit now. And then in principle, the first thing is always worth talking to a person, because it's always on the surface and always felt. If, let's say, something is bad at the first moment, and let's say the birth canals rush into the eyes, then the mouth. Yes, so we have two birth canals of mom, dad, right? That is, again, if you develop this vision, feeling in yourself, the first thing you do, you will skip over them. That is, the first thing you know, there is a mouth, not a mouth. And if the mouth has nothing to do with it, well, this person has acquired himself. That is, he acquired himself. Perhaps someone made him. Perhaps. Again, you have to understand, sometimes a person drives himself like that. That is, there is such a thing, if I'm not mistaken, the damage itself. He likes to name, to give some definitions. And sometimes a person drives himself so hard that in principle he does not need to do anything. That is, then you figure out what it is. But by and large it doesn't matter anymore. The key point is that it is necessary to somehow clean up the person to restore. And here probably, I don't like such words either. You do some kind of cleansing, no matter in what tradition. You look again at a person who is easily tolerated, what is not. Someone is getting sick. Our grandmothers have such primitive methods of casting on hair, annealing something else. A lot of people feel bad, yes, but at the same moment the simplest, most primitive thing to start working. And what does it mean?
That is bad.
Physically ill. Because, well, imagine, yes, there is a person. Here I am. I have a physical body. I have energy bodies. There is my etheric body. There is my cocoon known to everyone. And here are all these negatives. Well, whatever you want to call them. The damage from the eye is rolled. Yes, they are lying here somewhere here. And let's say a person lives with it there for 5 to 10 years, 20 years. This is some kind of structure. I don't know. There is already some kind of body that is with us all the time. And I take it and start pulling it out. A person gets sick, right? There's dizziness, nausea, some other similar things. And that's why we always look at the person energetically. You work very gently, in stages. You look at a person. You feel a person. You lead to something. Well, a person. Some kind of, well, let's call it ritual cleansing, right? They are tougher. And, well, in general, I don't really like them, because it happens very badly to people.
You said that it can be difficult for people to tolerate. And how do you tolerate these procedures yourself?
Everything is already calm. I've already gotten used to it for so many years already. Sometimes I think it's probably some kind of immunity. Well, as in sports, you slowly increase the load. And at first, I don't know, 2 people a day, and it's hard for you. You get tired. And then over time, there are 10 people and more seminars, you feel comfortable. But again, I repeat that my day begins with 3 or 4 hours of practice. It is to gain energy. It is for yourself. So that if I am sick, if I have something that hurts, I will feel bad, I will not be able to help people. Well, all the more so after all, when we work, well, energetically. Yes, I completely take away a person. My sick head to his problems. Well, it's not necessary at all. Agree.
Do you remember your first case with such a destructive effect? But just why am I wondering, right? You have been practicing for so long, and now this first client comes. In other words, where does the experience come from to sort out this situation?
I remember, I have such 2 vivid memories in general. The first customer is exactly, that is, when you start working, the first moment, what does it look like? These are girlfriends, these are acquaintances and acquaintances. Then, there are some more similar ones. Well, and that's all their own. And you seem to feel comfortable. Yes. And I remember the first person. A stranger. Yes. There is such a story. On the one hand, I ticked myself. On the other hand, it has a bad ending. That is, a friend came, asked to take her friend. That is, a complete stranger. We talked to her on the phone. This is just when I started. And me too. In other words, there was no such complete self-belief. And I used maps. Yes. And I do the layout. The question was about relationships. I even remember their names. Yes. That is, the girl's name was Natalia. The young man's name was Slava. She asks this question. I start looking, and I understand. That is, she has a question, will she get pregnant within 6 months? I start to look and understand. There is no categorical, and then I realize that I'm getting sick. Yes, that is, I am both this way and that, I feel bad. That is, I say that, well, unfortunately, no, yes. She, why? I say, because there is nothing at all. I don't see your future at all, and there is categorically that there is no future. I don't see your future. And so, that is, a complete negative. The girl was quite aggressive. She said that you were from the series, that it was all nonsense and so on and so forth. I was upset and disappointed. Here is the first foreign client. That's it. And that's where the story seems to have ended. I continued further, taking into account, well, we need to develop. We need to move. 6 months have passed. But since it was a friend, I got feedback 6 months later. Her man, this Slava, went to Thailand, rented a scooter there and crashed to his death. That is, and this is what I remember for the rest of my life. And somehow after that, by the way, I don't say the date of death at all, because people react very much, not very well. And the next moment was when the first person got caught with a negative, let's say, and the negative was generic. For the first 15 minutes, I couldn't figure out what it was at all. That is, I'm sitting, I feel bad. Everything is floating, I'm sick. That is, I would. A man is sitting waiting for something from me, but I can't do anything. Twice I got up and went out. That is, I'll go out, breathe, come back. Then in principle, well, there is such a moment that when we sit down in a direct projection, we resonate more strongly. I just sat a little sideways. The negativity was generic. The situation is actually banal. The mouth is not very good. That is, the girl was not to blame for anything. Yes, but when it is transmitted, that is, there is someone visible on Dad's line or something. How to put it mildly? Either he tortured people or something else. Here are some similar aspects. So straight, cruel, right. And as a result, he or she is living with it. The girl had miscarriages 3 times. That is, she can't give birth to a baby. Everything seems to be fine. Miscarriage, miscarriage, miscarriage. But they worked for a very long time. That is, we, of course, somehow managed to bring it to the point that she still gave birth to a baby. But no, everything is already there until the end. Well, there is no way to fix it. This is a job for life. And at such moments, I usually tell people that you would like to study and do something yourself on a permanent basis with the birth canals. In other words, these are probably the most striking cases.
That is, I correctly understood that it was some kind of punishment for the misdeeds of her relatives.
This can be called a punishment. It can be called that the energy goes bad through the birth canal. The energy goes bad. And as a result, yes, well, punishment, probably, yes, unfortunately.
And what kind of mechanism did this work? That some ancestor committed unpleasant actions, and the girl answers.
Yes, but we have, in principle, we are very connected. That is, we have our kind. It's on my dad's line, on my mom's line. We are constantly receiving energy. In order for us to live, we somehow realized, I don't know, created families, achieved something. And if, let's say, one channel is, well, exaggerated, we call it bad, the energy is of poor quality. It's, let's say, this is some kind of path in our life, begins to collapse. We don't have any energy. So we need energy for everything. Right. We have birth canals. We have upper, lower connections. These are all our energy sources. As soon as something fails somewhere, as soon as, well, let's just say, something doesn't work well somewhere, that's it, we fail. I mean, why, well, no, of course. I heard that we will clean the birth canals in 2 days, and your life will get better. Right? Well, maybe. I have not encountered, yes, I have not encountered there for 20 years more. But here's a little bit of work with the generic, remove some blocks, negativity, something else, a little bit of energy. Let's say, well, I'm getting more excited. a person's life changes very dramatically. Somewhere, let's say, the girl here has that, I won't remember now, I won't lie. It sometimes happens that with such situations. Yes, it's just blocked. Well, that is, the generic one, let's say, is blocked, and as a result, energy just comes in little or no. That's it. In other words, a person cannot be realized here either. And there, let's say, maternal, it has more influence on some, well, let's say feminine aspects. Paternal, well, male generic, but male. Yes, this is society, this is work, this is some kind of self-belief, this is the ability to go through life, not to be afraid to make mistakes. That is, if you look at all about these birth canals, there are a lot of things. They are salted in every way, but in principle, they are doing the right thing. But if a person wants to work with them, it's for life. But this is my purely opinion, and only from my experience.
But you also told Marina the following phrase. Well, you need to dive into the birth canal. Well, where do you view a person, and how does it happen? Is that what it means to you?
Well, technically yes. That is, I will try to explain. That is, there is, let's say, a person, yes, that is, technically one generic fits here, the second one fits here. You tune in and just try to slip your attention. If somewhere, roughly speaking, you stop, respectively, there is a problem. You're trying to go deep there somehow and figure out where. I don't always pick where, because of what and why. Yes, that is, I found it. I understand that's the problem. Then it needs to be cleaned up. From that, yes, the person realized that I congratulate you. You have, I don't know, there your great-grandmother was engaged in Chernuka. Well, why does he need this information? Well, only to frighten, probably somewhere. That is, to do something, to change something to work. When you skip through the generic, you find some place, and you just go there more deeply. You see the feeling. Well, I explained it, right? Well, here's how to explain it. You're getting deeper, aren't you? In other words, do you know how to view a picture? That is, you take some kind of picture, and at the beginning you see the general, and then you start to look into the details.
How is the focus of attention?
Yes.
So,
that is, you go there, that is, everything, the whole world goes by the wayside. That's the most important thing for you, and you just go there.
And in the end, do you see it as a picture, as an image?
Well, that is, someone sees pictures, right? I just get an understanding. Yes, that is, when you just know something in your head. Yeah, there it is, did it like this and so on. That is, I don't have exactly this vision. I've always been jealous, probably, yes. That is, how would I see exactly what you can see with your eyes? Let's say, right, there are some energy bodies, something else. Well, I don't have that. I closed my eyes, and I have the entire birth canal up to the fifth knee, yes, and it's all bright and visible. Probably, these bright images are more mediums. Yes, these are the people who are very rocked from birth. That is, yes, they see very well, they see with vivid images, but they cannot work precisely because there is no fixation.
I didn't really understand what fixation means here.
Well, look, in order to see something there, to count some information from a person, to look at the past, the future and similar things, you need to train yourself. You need to move there to move into the past, but if exaggerated, or to move into the future, there to see some events, to see some details. It's like, there is a point here, and we begin to move. Well, to look for some information. Mediums do it perfectly. That is, they are not fixed in one place. In order to change something, in reality, it is necessary to be fixed in this world. Therefore, on the one hand, mediums are excellent in terms of presenting information. Very bright, very clear, with names, something else, right? But they usually don't work. They don't practice. They don't work with people. They don't change something in life. Again, I'm working. That is, if you get to this state of swing, yes, you can do it, like anyone. Well, wow. But I want to see this picture of some kind. And after that, listen, well, I couldn't work for a week or two because you walk. You live in a different world altogether. Space is a little distorted. You see a lot of probabilities. You see these all more clearly. Well, whatever you want to call it. Yes, there is essence energy, something else. It is possible to work with it.
In other words, you see certain beings that can be called energetic, right? How do you understand them? What do they represent?
Listen, yeah. Again, I feel more, right? That is as such, because it occurs often, but call it what you want. Let's say you come to any house, and I go there quite often. Yes, but everyone probably calls me a brownie. Yes, but there's always some, well, I perceive it more as just a bunch of energy. Well, then you watch the good and the bad. It's very common in the subway, it's everywhere, it's like, well, it's natural somehow for me. That is, I have never tried to divide them in any way, to call them. Yes, that is, there are smoke entities, demons, something else, yes there. Diseases sometimes look like this. Well, you understand that some kind of alien, it lives its own life, right? That is, as it were, the same alcoholics, drug addicts, well, and similar things. There's a lot in the subway, right? That is, what is it? Which people actually create more by their own energy. And if, again, to utter, let's say you come to the house. Everything is fine in the house. People live well. They swear, and everything seems to be harmonious. And yes, there will be 100% of some other resident, well, someone, and it will be good. Well, if you can call it that. And if you come to a house where people are fighting, drinking, it will be something bad. And people create it themselves, with their screams. Because that's all it's some of our emotions, probably our energy. Only we create it.
In other words, it turns out that the primary person creates this with his influence. Do they, this entity, let's say, influence people, that they acquire negative habits there?
Well, for the most part, yes. Well, we probably won't say that there are any. Whatever you want to call it, right. Everything is different there. There are angels, demons, and whatever else. It's a little bit about something else, right? In other words, someone has already created it there a long time ago, let's say, or somehow it appeared. And basically, a person always creates himself. In other words, everything that you see here is very rare when you come across, let's say, something, well, let's call it folk. For the most part, people create, but because with these screams, scandals, yes, this is very often when I say, something is wrong at my house, I need to clean this up. Clean the house because my windows are opening, and so on and so forth. And you come and realize that, guys, why were you fighting like that? And why did you arrange all this? And so you turned your house into this. That is, that you have to such an extent there, I don't know, the tension is hanging. Here you go into some room. The tension is such that it is impossible to breathe. And accordingly, here we constantly have equipment flying there. So you created it yourself. That is, well, I'm not saying now. Let's say again, when a person unexpectedly dies there or when our loved ones leave, it's probably a little different, right? That is, there it is again. Call it what you want. The soul, the caste, everything is different, right? That is, as if it is already here. Well, I call the remnants of some kind of vital activity. And so people mostly themselves, unfortunately.
But with such appeals to your clients, have you also encountered when, let's say, well, a restless soul or what else to call it, is also restless?
Well, you see, I have a tough position that the soul continues on its way. The soul doesn't care anymore. Yes, that is, she needs to move the wheel of samsara, and there are other little tasks there. Well, yes, in principle. This happens when a person dies very quickly. Technically, I call it more like the impression remains, the physical body leaves, there remains some kind of energy shell that does not understand what to do with it. Well, in principle, yes, they applied. Yes, they worked. I have students, so they live together just fine. Yes, that is, she has either a grandmother or something, so she helps with the work. That is, she doesn't want to get rid of it. That is, and again it depends on the person, because let's say something is left and the person is very upset. She cries a lot. She's going through it all very hard. She's been going through it all for a very long time. It nourishes. And the longer he does it all, well, excuse me for being rude, he does it. Yes, that is, as it were, the stronger this one becomes. Well, let's call it an entity, probably. Yes, that is, the more she begins to do some nasty things, knock on doors, or somehow interfere with a person's life. And then, in principle, when, you know, a person can't crawl out of this grief for a year, 2, 3, yes, that is. And at some point he went, I don't know, to a psychologist there somewhere else. Well, she needs something to eat. She's used to it. That is...
Essence, yes, you mean.
Yes, that's what you want to call it. That is, she is used to it. She wants to eat. She needs to exist for something. But the air has been cut off. So, and this is where some already such tougher moments begin. Here, but again.
Yes, for example.
Here.
For example, I wonder which moments are tougher.
Yes, a person just gets sick. It's like, you know, we're trying to kick someone out of the house and not give someone to eat. Yes, that is, we fed the dog, fed the big dog, the angry dog. And here we went out to her without food, and say no. But yes, a person has no strength there, something else. Some things are actively happening at home. I don't know. The dishes are breaking there. Well, just dissatisfied. Yes, well, here you just have to somehow wait out the bulk of it. A person should have a firm decision that everything, I want to live on, I will not do this anymore, and somehow again, it's banal to clean the room there and clean up. Help a person with everything.
You have told about these entities that you see in aggressive environments like this. So you take on such work to eliminate from the apartment.
Yes, well, it's not often to understand this, so that's how it's all told, right? But if you look, listen, it's not often. That's exactly what happened with aggression. That's exactly what happened. These are rare cases. That is, in the bulk, it is something, well, let's say, of a different aspect.
Well, you just feel people, and here is some kind of work of a different order, as I understand it.
Yes, it's the same for me. That is, there is again, you understand, that is, there is, for me, the world is one. It consists not only of a physical something, chairs, a person, and whatever else there is. For me, this is all one.
What am I asking for? You are working with a person to cut off and deprive the entities of nourishment, or you are already working with these entities, or...
I don't care what happens to her in the future. I need a person, first of all, to change his mind, and secondly, to help him crawl out of this. That is, a person will stop feeding, it will not be, everything is banal, there's nothing to eat, everything will fall apart. Well, if at all.
Marina, you also know, if we continue the topic of entities, and we have recently seen that, let's say, some accidents on the road are becoming more frequent, there are cases of suicides. And we have heard from some of our guests that it can also be the influence of entities. At the same time, there are, let's say, abnormal places where certain events occur more often. Maybe you can say something about this, too.
Yes, I do not dispute that it has probably become more common now, but for me, unfortunately, it is simply not the essence of the world itself. The world is changing, the world is becoming different. Somewhere people are not pulling the tension. And as a result, this is all happening. The space begins to shake. Well, I don't know how to put it another way. Yes, the world is being rebuilt. As for places, there are actually a huge number of places. Somewhere they are called places of power. Good places, bad places. Well, I don't like to divide like that, because, let's just say, for me these are places with good energy, places with bad energy, with heavy, right? In other words, I just conduct seminars on places of power. And by and large, if we are talking about a place, let's say, in my opinion, there is some kind of bridge in St. Petersburg where most suicides jump. I don't remember which one. Well, first of all, since he is well known, and secondly, he accumulates some specific energy for two places. Yes, let's say there is a bridge. People started jumping from it. Yes, that is, they jump for a year, jump for 2, jump for 10 years. The place has some kind of energy. And when a person comes there, yes, that is, accordingly, he wants to do something. I don't know, he's getting depressed. He's getting sick. Yes, it catches the state of the place. We are creating these places. Well, no, I'm not talking about any faults and so on right now. Yes, that is, but we can create the energy of any place. The same temples. That is, people came there, started working there initially, and earned a place on the sly. And then a person comes to this dig, it's enough for him to sit and just think about what he wants there. That is why, yes, there are such places, and we create ourselves, and nature creates banal.
Marina, I saw this post on your Instagram. Spoilage, evil eyes, myths. Tell us what you invested.
Listen, well, in general, the topic is sick, right? It's very convenient for people to throw everything off for damage. Well, I've already said a little bit that 99% of it is the person himself. Let me just give you an example. It's very often this, well, probably every other day. A girl comes, says that like this and like that. I can't find myself a man, a husband in any way. I want to create a family. Do something. Well, okay, we're working. They dragged a man, joyfully runs through. Yes, it seems that everything is fine with us. We will get married. We will breed. Well, come on. Good luck to you. Well, usually clients, when you help them once, they sometimes stay with you for life. Time has passed, 3 or 4 years have passed. The same girl again, and how to say, I know the same, because the administrator told me that everything, Marina, you had it now. He comes in, I look at the person, and I don't recognize the person. That is, and when she had already passed, she came up, sat down and started. I recognized by the voice, with the phrase that, Marina, remember, I addressed you a man, that's it. Everything was fine with us. And now, in my opinion, someone jinxed us. Damage. And I look at her and realize that I remember you. You were with me 3 or 4 years ago. You were a size 40. You looked after yourself. You looked very good. And now, at this stage, a girl of the 52nd or 54th size is sitting in front of me, completely with some dirty hair, unkempt, untidy. That is, she sits and looks seriously into my eyes and talks about the fact that her man has someone, and most likely it's damage. Well, that's all I can say to that. No, it's not spoilage. It's sorry for the rudeness. You need to eat less. That is, there are a lot of such moments. There are a lot of them. Very often, when, let's say, a client comes again, here's the topic of men. It's very relevant, right? Please bring some partner. I can't get married. Yes. You're working. Something seems to have worked out. Some time passes. 3 or 4 months again. Yes. Then again. Comes. Well, that's it. I have a celibate crown. That is, you start talking banally with a person and realize that, well, in terms of the crown of celibacy, you're almost hitting these men. Yes. This is how you do business. You leave your firm there. You come home, at home. You communicate with your man in the same format. Bring it, serve it, and do it right. That is, and of course, he's running away from you. Well, what kind of crown is it without a doctor? But it's so easy to throw it all off, because I don't know. The first option is to take care of yourself. Go to the gym. What else to do there? The second option generally needs to work on itself, to remember that there is a girl, a woman, and to catch this facet. But it is very convenient for people to throw off damage, curses, in any problems. Disease, damage. That is, there is the same recurring disease. Well, probably the most common thing I encounter is my back, gastritis, and similar things. A man comes and says, here I have gastritis. Okay, we're working. Everything seems to be recovering. The man leaves. 2 or 3 months pass, and he comes back with the same thing. In other words, the fact that I jumped now does not mean that, well, excuse me for being rude, after leaving me, you can go to the McDuck and continue doing the same thing. That is, well, you need to help your body somehow, and the fact that a person has the same disease, for the most part, it is not damage. It's a way of life. That is, if a person himself does not start doing something, changing, but nothing will happen. You can achieve some kind of result, but if a person does the same thing, in 3 or 4 months, he will come to the same state. You know, I usually give an example. Right, the girl came to the doctor. Here I broke my leg. I was skiing. Do you like skiing there? No, I can't. Yes, that is, well, a cast was put on. 3 months passed. I skated again. Broke my leg again. So you don't know how well so. But what's the point with these people? It won't do any good.
A person does not want to learn, spend their efforts.
Either learn or give up this idea. Right. So he's going to break this leg like that. Right. That is, how would it make sense? Why should I waste my time and energy on this? Well, it's useless. That is, there is no such thing as a magic wand. That is, it won't happen. It won't work out so that I don't know. Someone has come, wants to change their life, no matter in what aspect. Financially, in relationships, in something else. Improve your health, and at the same time, he will not do anything. That is like, no, that's it, let's waive it. And now I'm going to trample. There will be no such thing, because either it will roll back very quickly, right? That is, either he will still go to aggravation. Everyone, we come here to grow and develop. This is the growth of the soul. Yes, we have to build a family. We have to be able to provide ourselves financially somehow, some minimal things. We have to develop spiritually in any way, as a person to develop. And if we are marking time in one place, well, what's the point?
Marina, it's interesting in this vein. Why is magic so popular now? Why is it so attractive to people?
But it has been popular for a long time. And that's when it became popular. It became hard to work. That is, probably in fashion or something to call it. But how much? 5, 6, 7 years. Here in the asset. It has become very difficult to work, because people are afraid. Well, that is, they come somewhere there, or they are charged something for a lot of money. I have a lot of these stories. Or even some kind of bad experience. And then the person comes, and you try to somehow reveal him, to talk. But why? Listen, probably, well, for me this is what I hear, I see. This is a person who wants to be special. That is, he wants to be special. He wants to touch something secret. That is, how fashionable it is, it's cool. And plus, probably everyone is looking for a magic pill. That is, when they came, they did something and that's it. And the whole life got better. Ride these skis, fall and don't break your leg.
And magic. Is it still easy? Is it a magic wand, or is it a huge effort? What is this?
Understand this. This is a system and labor. It's like going to school. Yes, here we are starting from the first grade, and slowly we are moving, developing. This is always work. Nothing happens like this. Well, with a few exceptions, right? There are some situations when I don't know. I myself was surprised at how fast the result was. But the question is whether a person will then retain this result. I can't walk away with him by the hand, but it's always work. And it's not just in the format. That's how to explain it, right? You know, I usually tell my students and clients that if you come somewhere and someone promises you, I don't know. Well, I like to call it that. To conjure, love, money, something else. First of all, see if this person has it. That is, if a person I don't know has built a relationship, knows how it is, understands the whole structure, he will be able to help you there because he knows how to do it. But if a person promises you millions, and at the same time he himself barely makes ends meet, run away from such a master. I mean, you know, I have such a strict rule. What I haven't touched I don't work. From the word at all. That is, I don't have children, I don't work. That's it. I do not know how it is, I do not understand. I mean, I can't.
In continuation of this topic, you had a publication on Instagram where you are so rather ironic. Where did you attend the event? You can tell me so that here is a continuation of the topic to diffuse the situation.
This is concerning. You have damage, I see you left. Listen, I've heard a lot of these stories from my clients. Well, from clients, from students, but somehow I knew that there was. But to face like this, there was an event. That is, they were invited to speak. That is, there are a lot of people. I came. I don't really like people. That is, I quietly sat down. I'm sitting. A woman approaches, and the conversation begins. That is, I have no communication at all. I did not crave. And she begins. I see that you don't have long left. The darkness is around you. That is, at first I thought it wasn't for me. Then I realized that how would it be for me? Because she is becoming more active. And where did she start? From a man? I see only you. That is, how would I? Well, that is, it's on the machine, right? That is, they tell me that I am alone. I understand that I have been married there for more than 20 years. I say, and no, married. More than 20 years. Next. But I see that you have a back there, a sexual system. Everything is straight black. It's okay. Well, I know for sure, especially considering the fact that constant practice. Yes, I teach yoga there, and some other things. That is, everything is fine. Then there was some kind of premise for something else for money. And then at some point, I mean there were a few, I don't remember anymore, right? And here she is, and I'm looking at her. I don't understand what she's for. And then she at some point. No, well, you're definitely spoiled. But I'll take a look now. And he rolled his eyes. That is, I'm sitting, thinking, Lord, I say, woman, here I understand that most likely it's one of my colleagues. Let's call it that. I say, woman, I think I'm speaking after you. Well, judging by the fact that we are sitting in line. And she looked at me. It was with such a kind of anger. Why are you silent? It is necessary to talk about such things in general. And that's it. And she left. That is, and in fact, yes, I then watched for about 20 minutes while I waited. I watched it for about 20 minutes. And the scheme is always the same. That is, what I see is corrupted you. I see darkness, something else. And then on to the main topics. It's relationships. It's health. It's, well, probably finances. And so she tells it all. Well, banal people are scared. And he happily distributes his business cards.
As a selection, yes, such. What will a person react to? Will it react to something?
I mean, I've heard a lot. But in order to somehow face it live, yes. That is like, you know, I've already left there. I was still leaving. It became creepy to me. Yes, I was not mistaken. I was just leaving after her. That is, there are such tables there. I do not know how to say it. Yes, and here the practitioners are sitting, and some consultations. And I see, well, that is, she's sitting. I was terribly interested in who it was. Well, that is, that's how a person positions himself. And there is a Karelian hereditary which. Do not go to Karelia there.
But it's interesting about this. Well, many of our guests, there is such an established opinion that the strongest magic there is hereditary. That the gift is transmitted there. That I have been there since childhood with this gift. Do you think magic is something that is inherited here?
Look, no, it's something you can learn. You know how it is. A man was born with some kind of talent. I don't know how to play the piano. And he will have better hearing. He needs to train less, right? That is as such. Here he has talent. He will develop faster. And some people just want to. And he goes, he works. He does not filinite. And that's who will have the best results here is a moot point. Because the one with talent, he can still get lazy. Lazy spit, right? That is, and if the person has decided exactly. In other words, it is, let's say, a certain structure, a certain system. There would be a desire. There would be a desire. There would be time. And there would be perseverance. Because I am a person who, it turns out, has been studying for more than 20 years. In principle, I mastered all the traditions. Everything is given. I never really turned on, if I have someone there by kind, or not at all. So I was completely interested.
That's the main direction now. It's sensory, as you say. Do you still use the tarot rune?
Yes, I have, let's say, the main thing. Yes, it's sensory, it's tarot runes, right? That is, well, probably, yes, again exaggerated, tarot, runes and similar tools. It's a crutch for me, yes. This is a setup tool. And when a person just comes, he needs something.
Yes.
And accordingly, he takes something from the bulk of the tarot. And yes, I work myself, because again, when it doesn't turn off completely, I don't know if I can take some basic state, this silence inside and so on. Here are some similar configuration tools. They help very well. They turn me off, and here in principle, some picture is lying, I'm telling a person something. And in general, I love tarot in general, because it is both a diagnostic tool of some kind and tools for full-fledged work.
But the runes.
The runes are tougher. In other words, tarot is, tarot is closer to psychology. Think, analyze, dig around. That's some depth. The runes are tougher and clearer. There are no half measures in runes. That is, if this is how they say, can I have a little love spell? There's the girls a little bit. Seriously, yes, there is such a love spell without sin. That is, as it were. Well, in principle. There, if we work energetically or work second, and yes, well, it's probably more some kind of harmonization to remove some negative aspects, scandals, conflicts, so that people can hear each other. And you can do this a little bit. And there is no such thing in the runes. That is, there is either a severe suppression of the well, or nothing. That's it. There are no such half measures, yes, as such. And plus, from experience, as practice has shown, hard people can deal with runes. When here is a hard inner core, men do it better.
Is there a love spell without sin?
No, that is, look, any suppression of the will, well, it's a sin, right? Or, what should I call it? Well, sin is probably a word. I don't really like it. But the moment the suppression of the will begins, well, the good will ends. This is violence. Violence against a person. Violence against a person, and so on. When we crush the will, that is, to understand that it is impossible for a person to crush the will. Well, I mean, women are beautiful in this regard, aren't they? Let him come crawling. And what else is there? And we will live unhappily ever after. And there must be some understanding that if we have crushed a person's will, there will be no miracle. It won't be that he's at home, I don't know, sitting with his belly button, looking into his mouth, and then he went into the world, and there he has some kind of business, and here he is so strong-willed, he has no wool. That is, we, by and large, break people's wool, and that's when it happens, well, that's it. That is, well, in fact, it's a fairy tale love spell without sin.
It is clear how the spell affects the person who was bewitched. He loses his wool. And the customer. Are there any consequences for the customer?
Of course, life punishes somewhere, from experience. Well, banal, yes, that is, whatever you want to call it, life, the universe, God, whoever else we have there, some kind of forces from above. Well, plus, let's not exclude it. They made a spell. This man here I don't know, but usually not a man himself. Usually mothers and sisters. Someone else go to look for some grandmothers, fortune tellers, someone else. And they will eventually find the one who will take it off. Well, that is, it will remove. Yes, it will remove this suppression of the will. And we can't take this one there. Well, let's call it a negative. yes, that is as it were, and throw it out on the street. That is, where is it being done? Always comes back, hence the rollback. That is, as well as to each his own, and as a result, a person is usually hurt. That is, he did the suppression of the, well, he will touch you at will. You'll fall over somewhere. If you did something related to health, you will fail with health. If you did something for a relationship, your relationship will fail. That is, well, you know, the laws of equilibrium have not been cancelled.
And how often do people generally come to you with some destructive orders? And do you take on any of these? Have you ever had?
Very often. That is, because sometimes it seems to me, again, I have already said, that we are not faced with a positive with some, and do this so that he dies and crawls to me. In other words, this is an offended woman. This is very often. In other words, it's probably a classic of the genre. In other words, there is this aspect of competition that is banal in business. Yes, that is, it is also very common. But in business here, whoever is stronger is right. Well, it is, yes. That is as if, well, and again, it is probably necessary to observe some decency, a framework or something. Here, we are guided solely by our moral principles. That's it. But this is very common. That is, the damage is very frequent. There are still some things, curses still. This is very common.
Do you take after all I work?
No, that is, either it should be something deserved. That is, when a person has really done something. And yet, well, I have a tough position, yes, that we are not gods to decide such things. You know, Hitler also came here and did something there. But if some aspects are really tough, but then there are negative situations. Rape, something else. But you can be punished for this. That is, but to punish all the same within reasonable limits. Let's say, right. That is, as if that's not how it's all shown and told. Well, as it is in principle, some girls offended women. Yes, that is, as if they are very well sobered by the price. Yes, that is, when she comes in all her emotions. That is, do something. No exhortations affect her. I always try to talk to a person. Yes, that is, there and sort out the situation. Understand? Well, yes, the relationship is over. Let me just help you through this. Well, to make it easier for you to let go quickly, there are some new relationships, something else. No, I want him to crawl. Crawl with the whole family, with his mistress, with someone else, yes. Here, well, usually the price of 1.5 million immediately settles everything. In other words, you say, I'm ready to do it, but it will cost 1.5 to 2 million. Well, according to the situation, I usually watched it, right? That is all. That is, but unfortunately, I always try to reach out anyway because again, yes, that is where I refused. But she won't stop. She will go on some more grandmothers, grandfathers, someone else. Yes, and in the bulk of the situation ends very badly. She finds someone who says yes, no question, and then she stays with her broken fortune and loses quite a lot of money usually, because it's a love spell. It's the same. That is, I've heard so many stories there. How can you send materials there for 100,000? 200,000, and then she remains in an even worse situation. That is, well, anyway, I always try to somehow get through to a person or something.
Marina, I wonder how you would describe what magic is in general.
This is the work of our consciousness, probably, because any ritual, any tarot, runes, whatever we do in the bulk, yes, that is, we work with our consciousness. We have some kind of setup. We have to enter a certain state. Yes, that is, this is the moment when our consciousness creates our world. In other words, we remember that everything we have, we create ourselves. Well, here's how to say that we are very good at creating bad things. Our fears are something else. This is just how we do it. And we are not very good at good things. That is, and it's banal, it's the work of our consciousness for me. That's it. No more. That is, as far as we are, the more we work with it, the more we rock it, the easier it is for us. Again, there I look at the students, there at my colleagues on some of their own. Everyone starts their tarot, runes, ritualism, numerology, astrology, palmistry, demonology, a huge amount of everything right. And slowly people come there after 10, 15, 20 years to the fact that in principle, we have consciousness. This is enough for us.
And then what about your consciousness?
But how to explain it here? Right. These are our thoughts. These are our feelings. These are our emotions. Yes. This is what we can't. Probably a spark. A piece of God in us. And I don't know how to explain it. Conscious, unconscious. Yes, here. As far as we are able to control it. You know how, imagine, you can, let's say, be afraid of something. But it's a frequent occurrence, right? That's when we are afraid of something. Afraid. afraid, and so it happened as such. But we don't walk like that. We don't want to. Yes, that is there. I don't know. I want to develop. I want to develop. I want to develop. Yes. No. We have more. Oh, I have to have fun. Yes, that is as it were. And so, by and large, how well we have goal setting, motivation, and a clearly structured program. Yes, because initially, when we start, we generally come to magic. We have some, let's say, well, things to set up. We have candles, we have, I don't know, tarot, we have runes. We prescribe our own desires, requests somewhere, right. Why are we doing this? We won't be able to keep it on consciousness, because we sat down right. In any tradition, probably in any practice, there is some kind of meditation. There is some kind of altered state of shamanis there. Shamans enter in one way. Yes, that is, there are, I don't know, yogs in another way. And in principle, the key point is that we need to reach a certain state and do something in this state. Well, there's something to think about. Well, that's not how we're built. As soon as everything is quiet there, we start thinking. At work, children something else to wash the dishes. And that's it. In other words, the main skill is to throw out all this unnecessary and, such a state of zero, inner silence. That's it. That is, this is magic for me.
Marin, I'd like to go back to the runes a little bit. Here many of our guests say that the runes, including dangerous ones. Yes, and looks with horror that runes are applied to the body, tattoos are made. What do you think about this?
Listen, I am a categorical opponent of runes on the body. I'll explain why. That is, look, there are only 24 runes, 25, the 25th is empty. Each rune is a certain energy, a certain quality, right? There is, I don't know, a good Vinny, Fehu money and so on. And that's when, let's say we want, I don't know, to improve our financial situation. And so we have stuffed ourselves with some kind of rune, which is connected with money. But we will limit other energies with this. That is, we will live under the same energy, banal. That is, we throw something else out of our lives. Yes, in return for this, and it happens that a person fills some runes, his life changes dramatically. I don't know, that is, he had a family, everything seemed to be fine, but he wants a business for himself. And here he is some runes in this aspect. What is the core? Business, something else, right? That is, it fills. Yes, the business appears, but the family leaves. That is, in general, the runes are hard. They need to be in order to wear them on yourself. It is necessary, roughly speaking, so to speak, to be healthy. Pull it. I do not know how to put it any other way. That is, so that we have enough strength, because again, when a client comes, if she came here, well, I'm exaggerating now, a flower girl, a dandelion like this is sitting in front of me and says, I really want a husband. That is, yes, I won't even have a thought to work with runes, because first of all it will fall down. They are tough. They are very clear. That is, yes, in principle. It's not for nothing that they scare. And when a person does not know how to use them, that there are a lot of bad ones.
So they're pulling energy.
They have to work on something, but they have to take energy from somewhere. They are masters of energy. No matter how hard we try, yes, they will still take a little energy from us. That is, they are also tough on energy. That is, tarot, it is soft, fluid. That is, it seems so comfortable. And the runes are like, I usually say that the runes are made with an axe. That is, remember, there is no such thing as a little love spell. Everything, suppressed wall, sits, looks devotedly into the eyes.
Radically solve issues.
Dramatically. That is, if you look at people who deal with runes in general, they are very tough. They are very rigid, structured, clear, aggressive very often. Well, after all, do not forget, this is a northern tradition. Yes, these are the northern gods. These are the cults of the gods. By and large, every time we turn on some kind of amulet, talisman, it turns on with blood. Yes, and here are some, when I have a group sitting, I basically understand at the first lesson, who I have until the end of the course will not reach. Because in the first lesson, here is the first rune. When we turn on the first rune, the first amulet, talisman, that's it, for those people who have problems with a finger puncture. Well, all this is known.
Do runes turn on their own blood?
Yes.
And necessarily?
Yes, or your own, ideally. In other words, this is a northern tradition. Initially, it is like this. The moat was turned on forever with blood. Well, or with their own, but for clients of clients.
Marina, the question is it possible to influence every person magically?
Probably yes, but a very important point is played by how much a person is suggestible, suspicious, timid. This is where it's very important. That is, it will be easier for someone, it will be harder for someone. Yes, there are people who, that's not in my world. There is no magic. That's it. That's categorical. Yes. And now it will be very difficult with them. But you can, yes.
How can a person defend himself?
In other words, probably the best defense is not to believe. Well, that's what I see, right? That is, people who do not believe, they get less. Well, it is clear that there are some protections. Work on yourself. That is, if we are in good condition, if we are not rocked, if we are not sick. That is, I don't know, not tired forever, right? In other words, our body must cope with this. I mean, I don't know, there's a cold, there's a sore throat, right? It's probably the same for me here, right? There's a level of negativity there. In other words, an ordinary person in life encounters this extremely rarely, and his body should be able to overcome it somehow, cope and spit it out, because there is no damage, no curse, any negative things. Yes, they are not made for life. There won't be a single coup all my life. Usually it's a year, well, maybe 3 at most, right? That is why you keep yourself somehow, study, everything. That is, as if there is someone who is afraid, I don't know. And now he is paranoid, but here I can say, just go learn. Browse the internet less. These are also frequent cases when, oh, I found it on the internet. Here, scroll through the internet less. If you want, go somewhere, study, and do it. Well, the key thing is to support yourself. Well, it's their own bodies, both physical and energetic. That's all right.
Marina, well, a little wish for our viewers.
I would like to wish everyone to develop and move. Be careful at the same time, because there is too much of something incomprehensible right now. And you can come somewhere and leave your health, money, and plus your problems will remain with you. Develop, do not be afraid, and do not listen to all the horror stories that are told.
Marina, thank you. Dear friends, there was Shadow Control on the air. Take care of yourself, and all the best to you. Hello. Shadow Control is on the air. Every person in his life repeatedly encounters magic and what is inexplicable. And when faced with this, he often forgets, although the consequence remains. And the question is, what is magic? False or true? Magic exists, and it is real. If magic was a fantasy or a deception, it wouldn't have existed for so many thousands of years. And throughout all this time, it has seduced and seduces the masses of people to this day. Magic is the oldest and most numerous religion, the religion of Satan, whose adherents are even atheists. That is why all the prophets at all times said about the inadmissibility of practicing magic, that magic does not lead to hell. And yet, some religions, originally built on the true teachings introduced by the prophets, today openly engage in magic, conduct various magical rituals, offerings, sacrifices. But after all, the prophets did not do this and, moreover, bequeathed not to do it. All these actions are imposed by the devil. Just like begging. Allegedly, God has material goods and health. But the prophets said, "It is not worth asking God for anything, except for the salvation of the soul." It turns out that those who had to fight and resist magic openly serve Satan. Why is she so attractive? When people, knowing about the ruinousness, and, nevertheless, exchange the eternal for the momentary, ghostly, material. Yes, the invisible world exists, and it is diverse, like the ocean is full of unknown life. And together with you, friends, we would like to understand a little bit about what magic really is, why it is so tempting, and how the invisible world really works.